Good to me. You know, I'm a big fan of starting and ending on time. So with that approval, we will go ahead and start this budget meeting. First up on the agenda, we have introductions and consent. I think we've all done introductions. I think everybody knows each other here well. So the first action item we have is approval of minutes for May 12th, 2022, and acceptance of financial statements, check registers for April, May, June, July, August, and September 2022, and budget expenditure report to date.
Well, I'll make a motion. We approve the minutes from the 8th. I'm going to guess Andrew wants to talk about maybe the others a little bit.
Okay, we have a motion to approve the minutes. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Okay, first and second, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, those,
I don't know that we have any discussion needed, unless any of you have any questions about the financial statements, check registers, and budget expenditure report to date. So if you don't, then we would actually need to, we would appreciate your approving those as well.
Bob, does your motion include
Yeah, I'll
the,
just make another motion saying that I'm looking through everything. Everything looks good. I think it's important that that's in the minutes. As far as that goes, I don't see any problems or any questions as far as anything goes. So with that, I would make a motion that we approve the financials and the other stuff listed. Register.
okay, do we have a second on that?
Second, I'll second it.
Okay, thanks, Scott. Appreciate that. First and the second, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, approval of minutes and financial statements, check registers, et cetera, are approved. Thank you. That'll bring us to number 2. Any
Mayor.
public comment? Oh, go ahead.
Sorry, I think.
Are you the public comment?
Yeah, I think that Andrea is probably thinking the same thing as I am, which is that for our record while recording, we actually need to go through the roster of who's on here. So Andrea can read through everybody if you'd like. Okay.
Okay, so on today's call, we have Marion Florence, Andrea Pearson, Andrew Gruber, Tim Reese, Jeff Scott, Mike Caldwell, Kevin Wells, Bob Stevenson, Scott Wardle, and Wayne Benyon. Thank you.
And just as a reminder, you all know this, but Marion is our CFO and Kevin is our Kevin, what is your title? Financial person who does all the financial things? What is your title, actually?
Her title is accounting specialist. Sorry, she's on mute.
Okay, terrific. Accounting specialist. So we've got both our finance gurus with us on this call. So thank you.
Okay, Andrea, does that cover it? Okay, we're good to go. So we'll move on to number 2. Is there any public comment? Okay, hearing none, we'll move on to number 3, budget amendments and audit report. Andrew, I'm going to punt that to you.
Okay, thanks, Mr. Chair. So this meeting, we have 2 items. It is the same 2 items that we have every October meeting. One of them is the reviewing and recommending the audit report, our annual audit report. And we have Tim Reese, our external auditor, who we're going to turn to in a moment. Actually, I'll turn to Marion in a moment to say any introductory comments and then turn to Tim. Here's the short story. Another clean audit, unqualified audit. That's the short story.
Spoiler alert.
Spoiler alert. But we'll go through that in a little. And then the second item is a proposed modification to our current budget. Again, this is a normal budget action that we take every year in October as we close out the budget for FY22 and we see what projects we finished in the last fiscal year and what ones continue into the current year, and we carry forward and update the budget. So it's pretty straightforward stuff today. We'll go over both of those things, but those are the action items for today. So, Mr. Chair, if it's okay with you, then I'll just turn to Marion and then Tim to give us a short report on the audit.
That's great.
Excellent.
Please go ahead.
Thank you. Just briefly, I wanted to thank Tim for his many years of service to WFRC. Tim is retiring this year, and he has been working with us for, Tim, you can probably say, I think longer than 7 years, a long time. And I am especially grateful because, of course, you know, that I took over from Kurt, who took over from Lovett. And so Tim lived through those transitions, as did we all, and he was really helpful in working with me. And we worked a lot together over the last couple of months to make sure that that fiscal year 22 was accurately represented and that we were in good shape here in FY23. So thank you to Tim. With his retirement, we did reach out to KHSA, his firm, and they let me know that there are no longer any auditors at their firm who are qualified to do governmental accounting. And so we have submitted an RFP to several firms that this Office of the State Auditor recommended to us. And so I'll be bringing those bids back to you as we get them. So we're in process to find a new auditor for FY23. And not quite there yet, but just to let you know where we are in that process. So over to you, Tim.
Okay.
Marion, excuse me, I'm sorry, let me just add one thing there, which is, as Marion noted, as we go through that process of hiring a new audit firm, we're going to want to work with you as a committee to help in making the selection of an audit firm. That's part of the role of the budget committee, is to function as the audit oversight committee as well. Therefore, it's important that you be aware of and comfortable with the path forward on our next auditor.
Exactly.
Okay, thanks. Tim?
Okay, let me see if I can share this screen again here. Can people see that now?
Mhm.
Okay. Yeah, I was thinking we completed the audit and a lot of changes. We had change of personnel and change in accounting systems, but even with all those challenges, we still didn't feel we had any problems doing the audit, which is a big star for your accounting people. And a lot of changes, sometimes you run into things, but we felt we didn't run into any problems doing the audit. Your audit is again unqualified, and when we have to do that, we have to satisfy the accounting requirements, the state of Utah requirements, and also the OMB requirements for federal audits, which is extensive. We've qualified as lowest auditee, which means there's been no exceptions in the last 3 years of audits. All the last 3 years have been unqualified opinions, and we didn't find any question costs on your grants and the amount of state compliance. If I can just go to this report for a minute, if you can see it, I just want to go a couple of things that may look a little strange to you. Right here on this page, we don't audit the state retirement system, and we don't get the information that goes in the footnote. The government-wide financial statement is impacted by the state retirement, but for the most part, you people probably don't really think it's something you want to look at much. But I'll just point out a couple of things. If somebody sees something strange, I'll explain it. You notice over here in pension asset, there's 1.4 million, and last year there wasn't anything. Well, state retirement has, every year they do evaluation on their investments, what percent they're earning, when people are retiring and how much they got in the system. And this time on our confirmation from them, they figure you have a asset, which means your investments are more than adequate to cover it. The previous year, we didn't have a asset, we had a liability. That's why this amount right here is higher. So if you look at that and that looks strange, that's why. But this year, when we do evaluation of the stock market, maybe back to liability again. I don't know. But anyway, that's, if that explains that. Any questions there? Hearing none, we'll go on. We have accounting policies we look at, and one of them that you probably, Marion, maybe jump in if you want to here. the capitalization of your assets, and this only affects still only the government-wide statement. And it doesn't affect your main one you look at in your board meetings, but it helps if you have a higher amount, then you don't have such a tedious task of trying to update your depreciation schedule. I think you're gonna capitalize now at 5,000 rather than 1,000. Is that right, Marion?
That is the proposal. Yeah, I'll be talking about that a little bit later. We're going to incorporate that into a proposal for January, but absolutely, yes.
Yeah.
That will
Yeah,
also
it-
meet, not only be less onerous, but it will meet the state purchasing threshold just fine. So that's our
Yeah,
plan.
Kind of thing that everybody's going to, because you don't want pages and pages of little items on there when it's not something that really impacts you a whole lot on your day-to-day activities. The other thing we talked about a little bit, Marion, is exchange and non-exchange transactions. And there's two accounting terms. Exchange is when you get money and there's something expected when you get the money. Like if you provide water to somebody, you provide water, you provide sewer. It's exchange transaction. I get money, I provide the services. The other one is non-exchange, where you typically sales tax, property tax, you get the money, but you don't have to really do anything. But on grants that you receive, most of those grants are exchange transactions. And if we don't spend all the money, it's under an income. You'll see that in your financial statement is under an income because we haven't spent that money, which means we haven't done the exchange where we get money and we provide something for it, like a study or a planning or something like that. And Mary, do you want to comment any more on that at all, or?
No, I think that's good.
Okay. So that's why sometimes that increases some years, sometimes it decreases, depends on when you get the project done. But we've implemented most of the standards that are new. We have new opinions. We've got that implemented. We have capitalization things on the building. We've done through that. We've tested the clients on the grants, and we have to offer a separate opinion on your transportation grant. And that goes into what's called a clearinghouse, where anybody who receives more than 750,000 on grants has to report those to the federal government. And we do that. I can kind of show you where we do that here. Right here, this will be input into the federal government, and they look at this, and they, as auditors, they want us to make sure we've audited enough of the grant transactions. And we have a separate thing for that. They are very fussy about the reports we give them. They have to be, so we can word search them. So we have a special program that takes our word processing, puts them into a searchable PDF text. That's one of the requirements we do there. So are there any questions that you need from me on the audit?
Any questions? Well, Tim, good luck on your retirement. We appreciate everything that you've done, and I want to give a huge thank you and shout out to the accounting staff and leadership of WFRC for being so transparent and forthcoming with information. So thank you very much.
I appreciate the accounting people. I feel we work with them really good. They're very knowledgeable and they have a good system set up. So appreciate working with them.
Thanks, Tim.
Tim, thank you very much. I really appreciate you, as Marion noted, going through the transition that we did and having us now be in this point with Marion and Kevin in a strong position. So thanks for, I'm not gonna say you delayed your retirement for us, but it worked out, the timing worked out well. So thank you very much. Marion, do you have anything else you want to add about the audit?
No, I think that was it.
Okay, great.
Okay,
Thank you,
well, thanks, everybody.
Okay, thank you very much. This is an action item, so we would look for a recommendation to approve the fiscal year 2022 WFRC audit report and send that to WFRC Council for approval.
I'll make that motion.
Good to see you, Jeff.
Second.
Yeah, I'm doing my Andrew Gruber impression today. I'm sitting in his office.
He kicked me out of my office today. So sent me home.
Okay, we have a first from Mayor Silvestrini, a second. Did I hear from Commissioner Stevenson? Yep, that's a nod. Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, that passes. Thank you very much. Up next, we have 3B, which is also an action item, review and recommend the fiscal year 23 WFRC budget and unified planning work program amendments to the WFRC Council for approval.
Okay, Mr. Chair, I'll take that one and then turn to Marion briefly as well. I'm gonna put on the screen here the copy of the memo that we sent out to you. Can you see my screen there,
Yep.
everybody? Yep. Okay, great. So what we're doing this year, as I noted, is the regular process that WFRC does every October, where we close the books on FY22, closing up in June 30. We do the final financials, and then we determine mainly what projects concluded in 22, what our final spending was in 22, and what projects did not conclude and then carried forward. The work, because it's multi-year in nature, carries forward from 22 into 23. So we closed out the books on 22, and then we update and amend the budget for 23 to reflect the work and then the dollars associated with that revenue and expenditures that carry forward. That's the main thing that's happening. And again, this is a normal and anticipated process. Our projects are multi-year in nature, many of them. But what we do is we have a practice of budgeting them all in the first year and then carrying them forward. So it's sort of a regular flow through our process. This year, as you can see here in the memo, when we completed FY22 and reviewed the final expenditures, the spending was notably lower than budgeted by more than $5 million. Again, this is not a surprise, and in part it reflects that there were several notable items budgeted in 22 that we've moved forward into 23. They're listed out here, but our TLC, Transportation Land Use Connection Program, many projects in process, so spending moves from one year to the next. The second one is the grant that WFRC received from Intermountain Healthcare, $500,000 grant. We're still working through that, so most of the spending on that has not happened yet, and that's carrying forward. And then the third one is the household travel survey. This is the one that Marion, it's around $1 million, right? For the
Actually,
household.
$2 million.
$2 million. Okay, we've got some money in and our partners have some money in that flows into us.
Mhm.
We again delayed that is done every 10 years to calibrate our models. We delayed that again in collaboration and consultation with our partners because of the lingering effects of the pandemic. We didn't want to do a survey and have it be used projecting ahead when we were still coming out of pandemic effects. So we're going to do that survey this year. So that's $2 million that carries forward. So you understand like how you get to a $5 million budget to actual expenditure. In addition to that, and then this is the second list of bullet points here, we have either received or are anticipating 2 new grants. These are new since you and the council adopted our FY23 budget in May. One of them is getting state funding for the statewide comprehensive economic development strategy. This is what the work we're doing in conjunction with GOPB as they work on a statewide SEDS to coincide with the regional SEDS that we develop and each of the other AOGs, associations of government around the state, develop. Some funding coming, so we're incorporating that into the budget. And then the last notable thing is that we have applied for, and we've been consulted with Mayor Silvestrini about this and shared information out to actually all the communities, that we're applying for a federal Safe Streets for All discretionary grant to do a safety plan for the whole region. And if we get the grant, it'll be about $1 million to do this safety action plan. We do that And then once that's in place, each of our communities, each of your communities can then apply to USDOT for capital grants for safety projects. But step one is doing the safety plan. So from a budget perspective, we hope that that gets awarded. We don't know if it will, but we're putting it in the budget so that if it gets awarded, the allowance is there that we can move forward on that project. That one also necessitates an amendment to the Unified Planning Work Program. So in your materials, there was an ad of a few paragraphs describing that safety action plan that Wayne put together. There's a few other modest adjustments. And what I'm going to do, I can take questions now and or turn to Marion, and Marion can actually show you in our budget tables how these modifications bear out, which we think will be helpful to your understanding. So Marion, maybe I'll just turn to you. Do you want me to, I've got it on the screen already. You want me to just go to that?
Yeah. If
Okay,
you could just scroll down.
yeah,
Um,
we'll go right
there it is.
here.
That's our,
Okay,
thank you. So you all have a lot more history with this than I do. So one of the things I did was go back and look at the May to October adjustments that have happened over the past couple of years. And so I was reassured that this is a normal process, as Andrew has said. And you can see that as usual, the main difference in terms of, you can see the total expenditures going up about $4 million. And in contractual, that's 3.9. So that's the main piece, as usual, in this amendment. And so that $4 million is actually, it's similar, but a little different to the budget to actual $5 million that we talked about before, because this is actually carrying forward that we had not budgeted for in that May amendment. So you may remember that we did actually put the household travel survey money into the May version of the budget, the original budget, because we were already convinced that we were not going to start that in FY22. So coming into FY23, we do have $2 million in the TLC program, and that's quite normal. Our projects are ongoing over many years. And then we of course have new projects that are awarded every year. The 1 million in the Safe Streets for All that we talked about. And then about $250,000 each in the IHC carry forward the joint projects and some local funding that coming forward into that contractual. And so that's what makes up that $4 million. But I think that it's also useful context to know that, and the history here gives you a little bit of that, but I have more of that history if you're interested, of course, that every year the May to October adjustment is about 25% increase. And then the actuals come in at 70%, 75% of the amended budget. So you can see that it's kind of how we budget here at WFRC, where we make sure that the budget contains room for everything that we're planning. And the multi-year nature means that a lot of it carries forward, but it means that everything that we're contemplating, everything that we have underway is represented here, which I really like. You can see that the wage information doesn't change because, of course, that was locked in May, and that's predictable and scheduled. And so those are the places that we don't see changes. The other changes, the next biggest one, of course, is from equipment / what used to be labeled depreciation over to supplies. And so as Tim suggested, he brought a recommendation to me, which I absolutely agree with, that we increase our capitalization threshold from $1,000 to $5,000. This will essentially take everything off of our books that we're currently depreciating, because what we buy in that category is computers, laptops, computers, monitors, basically computer equipment. And so we will not be depreciating that once we have amended our policy, but we're going to bring a more a thorough policy adjustment to you to recognize the addition of financial staff, Kevin being on our staff. The processes change a little bit there, and post-COVID. So there are a couple of adjustments that we're going to bring to you in January. One of them will be that capitalization threshold. So I took the liberty of including that in our budget to show that those expenses will now be under supplies, not under an equipment definition. The streetlight data that we're purchasing through the household travel survey. So we have that incorporated also in our supplies budget for this year. So that also represented a significant increase right there. The additional adjustments that you see are
Okay, on that, Streetlight is the name of a company that produces data that tracks people's movements by their cell phones and other things. And it's one data source that goes into this larger household travel survey and travel demand model recalibration effort that we're doing this year that we mentioned before.
Yes, exactly, with several partners. The others are pretty minor, but I do want to point out that our travel and training budgets are returning to what we like to call pre-pandemic levels. And so those are represented there, reflecting both the addition of the statewide SEDS grant, which has some funding in there for travel and training for that department, but also making sure that we have the funds in there to really support the travel and training that we can do this year, which we're excited about. There's a lot of deep detail in the footnotes, and I'm very happy to answer any questions on specific numbers, on historical trends, and just really grateful to Wayne and Andrew in particular for working with me on presenting this budget, because I feel confident about the numbers and where they come from, and I feel like it's a accurate representation of the finances here at WFRC, which is always a good position to be in.
Marion, thank you very much for walking through that. And I'll just sort of reiterate here, as you look across this table, which is sort of I think the most natural way to understand what we're actually spending money on. You can see that there's significant consistency in most of our lines year to year. And it is that contractual line that goes up and down as we're budgeting and we're rolling things along. I just want to assure you, we know where every dollar is. We're tracking all of it really carefully in all of our programs. And when we get a new program or a new project that comes in, when we see these increases, it is because we have the revenues that are coming in for us to do that work, right? I've said this to you all over the course of the years. We are not expanding our budget without having the corresponding revenues coming in. So any increases that you see on new projects, they always associate with additional revenues that are coming in. And then there's no changes here in the salary or employee benefit line item. There's no changes in the dues that are being paid by the counties. So everything else is pretty straightforward. But as Marion said, she or I or Wayne or Kevin, any of us are very happy to hear and try to answer any questions or comments that you may have.
So one question I do have, you don't want to change the dues for the counties?
What he means is from May to October. So the amount we billed in May is not adjusted here in October. We will change it next year.
Well, Mayor, are you proposing
a
it?
bunch of county people, so I was gonna throw it on them, but
Well, we defer to your advice, of course.
Okay, joking aside, are there any questions? If not, then would look for recommendation for the fiscal year 23 WFRC budget unified planning work program and the amendments to the WFRC Council for approval.
So moved.
I'll second.
Thank you. We have Commissioner Stevenson and Mayor Silverstream, first and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, that passes. Thank you all very much. Up next, we have the Executive Director report.
Thanks, Mr. Chair. I'll make this really brief. One, Marion said thanks to me and to Wayne for sort of helping her as she's going through the budget process, and I'll give those thanks right back to Marion and to Kevin. You all, as a budget committee, I just want you to know how really thrilled I am with the work of our finance team. I mean, Marion has come in, and not only has she not missed a beat, but I actually honestly think she's taken our work to a higher level. She's focused and dedicated, and it's kind of funny because she'll come to me and like she's digging into something and trying to figure it out, and then she finds the answer to something and she'll say, oh, like, I'm so excited, I love this stuff, so it's really been terrific. And I just as for those of you that have been doing this with us for a while, I just want you to know that I'm feeling really good and confident about where we're at from a budgetary and an audit perspective. Now, we always are happy to and are open to comments or questions or input. But I just want you to know my feeling is that we are in a really, really good position with Marion and Kevin and the whole team. The other thing I'll note is that Marion mentioned this already, but we are going to propose to you, bring to you for next meeting for in January, a full review of all of our accounting and our administrative policies. You may remember the last time we did this was a few years ago when the state auditor made those recommendations that all local government entities do the fraud risk assessment. And so we did that, and we went through and we updated all of our policies, and we're in good shape there. And then we made a few modest adjustments in the heart of the pandemic so that we could actually, function remotely. But now what Marion and Kevin have done is they've gone back in their sort of new-ish, however you want to say it, roles, and done a whole nother run through of all of our accounting and administrative policies to look for any modifications or enhancements or improvements or whatever cleanups that may be needed. And I would say, Marion, is it fair to say that we're in good shape with our policies and they can benefit from some update and enhancement?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, we're in fine shape. There are some updates we could do, both to reflect, as you said, actual changes in our staff and our procedures, and then also just to double check, if the state auditor says, I want you to have a policy written down about this particular thing, just that's making sure that those are all in there.
Yeah. So, I mean, I regard this as just our continual effort and commitment to making sure that we're doing, a good, thorough, transparent, fully compliant job. And so in that spirit, we're working on that. We're going to bring some proposed policy modifications back to you for consideration in our next cycle. That's all I've got, Mr. Chair. And the idea here would be, with the actions you've taken today, then at our council meeting, our full WFRC council meeting on Thursday, the 27th, October 27th, do I have that right? That there would that these items would be presented, succinctly for review and approval by the council. So that's all we've got for you today.
Okay, well, I'd add my thank you to Marion and Kevin. Thank you. You're great additions to the team. Been on a lot of state boards, and I feel more comfortable with WFRC's budgeting process and their transparency than I have for a lot of others. So that's just the tip of the cap to you all. We appreciate the work that you do, and we're really happy to have you. With that, end of the executive director report. Is there any other business?
Mr. Chair, before I make everybody's favorite motion, I also want to thank Kevin and Marion for their work, and I approved your invoices this morning, so.
Thank
have-
you.
But anyway, thanks for the good work, and it's always nice to hear good things from our auditors too. So
Yeah.
motion to adjourn.
There you
Well,
go.
before you say that, can I just note that this is Commissioner Scott's last budget committee meeting? Unless we schedule an emergency budget committee meeting just to keep him around for a while, because he
We should
broke
do
all of
that.
our hearts and didn't run again. And I just want to express a lot of appreciation for you, Jeff, because you've been a great partner to us generally, but also for the budget committee. I mean, Jeff was involved in our hiring processes and our reviewing our audit stuff, and has, done extra work with us for the budget committee. So Commissioner Scott, thank you very much.
Yeah, and also I appreciate your help, Jeff, on Andrew's compensation and the evaluation of that you've done. Your expertise was welcome. So.
Thank you. I would echo what Mayor Caldwell said. There's a lot of different committees, boards, associations that we participate in as elected officials, and some, I'm going to be politically correct here, are a little bit more enjoyable than others. And I've truly enjoyed this one from top to bottom. So thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Jeff. We appreciate your participation and commitment. You've always been willing to jump in and do whatever was asked. So
Thanks, sir. I'll still be around. You guys will still see me from time to time.
On the
Good.
pickleball courts, right?
That's one of the places.
Okay.
any other business? If not, Mayor Silverstream had a motion to adjourn. Is there a second?
Second.
There you go, Jeff. Okay, on favor, say aye.
All right.
Yay.
Thank you
Thanks,
very
everybody.
much. Our next meeting will be January 12th. And Jeff, good luck to you. And if we can do anything to help you, let us know.
Okay, I might tune in and offer some public comment.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks
Have a
all.
great day, everybody.
Thanks, everybody.